Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to introduce you to this new quad, the ZLRC SG907 Pro, as you can see here. Now this is a newer version of the SG907, and on this version they've added a 2-axis gimbal which helps stabilize the camera in order to lessen the shake in the video. So let's check it out. Like many other low-cost drones in the market, this comes with a travel bag, and inside of the bag we have, of course, a thin foam cover to protect the drone, which is standard. And as you can see, we have the drone and everything else that comes with it nicely stored into its own foam compartment. Here's everything that came inside of the bag. It comes with several manuals, one in English, and you have others in 5 different languages. This here is basically a caution card which pertains to the gimbal and how to use it properly, which you should always keep in mind before operating it. Over here is the standard USB charging cable, Phillips head screwdriver, and extra propeller replacements. Now usually these budget drones come with 2 props, but they've added 4 in this package, which is great. So let's take a look at the drone here. As you can see right away, it has a similar design to the DJI Mavic. I believe it weighs around 259 grams, so it's not that heavy. On the front is the gimbal protective cover, and it has a graphic showing you how to remove it. Now you want to be very careful removing this gimbal cover, or you might end up damaging it. So how I do it is I use this finger to press downward, while the other finger to unclip it like this. Now you can carefully remove the cover from the gimbal. To reinstall it, you want to place it at an angle, clipping in the top part first. Then you just clip the front part like this. And that's it. Now the gimbal seems to be made from a mid-grade plastic, but looks very well designed for a drone in this price range. It is a 2-axis gimbal, so it will only be able to swivel in 2 directions, which would be this way and this way. It doesn't have a 3rd axis, so it won't be able to stabilize when you yaw to the left or right. The camera has a Sony INX179 sensor and can record video in 2K at 25 frames per second and photos at a 4K resolution, which we'll have to see when I test it out. The Optical Flow Lens has a 720p resolution and helps keep the drone stable while hovering above ground. The battery has a smart indicator to let you know how much power you currently have when pressing the button. Now let's unfold the drone. It does have a nice look to it, and it's not really as big as it might look on camera, so it's not bad for a budget drone. Now one thing that I do like about it is that it has an SD card slot on the side of it, which allows you to record your video onto the card at the highest resolution possible. So I like that. And to install your SD card, you just insert it into the slot and push it down till you hear a click. Now the only issue I have here is that if your drone were to crash into a tree or the ground, the card might pop out and be lost. It would have been nice if they designed the card slot with a rubber cover to keep it in place, similar to the one on, say, the ZLRC X12. To remove the battery, you press both left and right side buttons to release it. Now this is a 7.6 volt 1600 milliamp hour battery with a flight time of 13 to 14 minutes. And on the front is the USB slot to charge it. To check the battery status, you just press this button here for about 5 seconds. Now the lights will turn on showing the current charge. And to turn it off, you just press the button again for 5 seconds. The motors are 1020 brushed coreless which are not bad for an $100 quad, but they are 20% less efficient than brushless motors, which are less maintenance and last a very long time. But again, for this price, it's fine. Now what I'm curious about is how these motors will actually perform at higher altitudes, whereas brushless ones are able to withstand higher winds at higher altitudes, which is very important, especially when you're using a camera with a 2 or 3 axis gimbal. So I'm curious to see how the footage looks at, I don't know, say 70 to 80 meters up. The remote looks pretty nice. It does have an internal battery, which you can charge via the USB port on the bottom. Now the battery is a 3.7 volt, 500 milliamp hour LiPo that lasts you several hours. There's 2 foldable handles to grip the remote firmly on each end. The joystick gimbals are spring-loaded. Now they do feel a little loose and plasticky, unlike other remotes with tighter gimbals that feel tougher. On the top are 2 foldable arms that are for placing your smartphone, and the antennas are actually attached to them as well, and they too fold and unfold. It is an odd design for a remote, but what's cool about it is that the antennas also serve as a stand. You can definitely fit several smartphones of different sizes here. Now as for the antennas, it only has one that is active, as you can see right here. On the front we have the button for switching speeds. This one is the return to home. This one is the takeoff and landing button. Here is where you can activate or disactivate the GPS. This one is the headless mode. Over here is the video button. And this one is to take pictures. On the back we have 4 buttons, and these are for, let me see. Okay, so these are for adjusting the camera's angle. And these other 2 I believe do not have a function. On the side is the on and off button, which I'll turn on now to show you. Now this I really like a lot. The fact that I'm able to see all of the telemetry on the remote is very useful for me, because sometimes it's hard to see some of the telemetry on your phone, or it just might freeze up on you or quit, and having it as a backup on the remote really helps. Here's the drone's battery status. This one is for the remote. Here is the height and distance. Here is the GPS status. Here's for satellites. And here's your flight mode status, which are modes 1 and 2. To change the GPS mode, you just press here and you'll see it turn on or off. When it's off, it goes into optical flow mode. Now to turn the drone on, press the button on top for 5 seconds until you see fast blinking lights. The gimbal goes into its calibration process. Now it's very important that you don't disrupt the process or the gimbal will not work properly. Once the lights blink steady, wait for 10 seconds before moving the drone. Next, connect to the drone's Wi-Fi via the XL Pro app. In the app, you have all your flight records. In the settings, you have the option to turn the camera's stabilization on or off. I'll leave it on by default. And here is the 4K correction or photo fix. Here's where you calibrate the drone before flying it. These would be the compass and gyro calibrations. Make sure you're in a location with minimum geomagnetic interference or you will encounter issues. Now, I'm around a lot of electronics right now, so the interference level is extremely high, as you can see. So just make sure you're flying free of any interference. As you can see from the FPV feed, the camera works just fine. The gimbal seems to be stable and working well. This icon here is to take pictures. It does have a delay of 2 to 3 seconds to save the photo. This icon is for video, and it turns orange, which indicates that it's recording. This is a slider to make the camera tilt up or down. This one is to switch to the bottom camera. And you can also record video in this mode as well, but do keep in mind that it will be in 720p, which is a lower resolution. Here is the virtual reality mode for connecting to FPV goggles. This is to switch from SD to HD video recording, and you definitely want to keep it in HD to ensure that you're recording in the highest resolution that's available. If you leave it on SD, then your videos will be recorded in a very low quality. Here are your intelligent modes, like waypoints. This is active tracking, hand gesture, and remote tracking. This one is the orbiting mode, and these only work when the GPS is activated. This is the return home, and this is your maps. This radar here allows you to know which direction your drone is facing, helping you navigate better without using the map. To unlock all 4 motors, you just simply do this. Now, I'm obviously not going to get Mavic Pro results here, but for a budget drone, we'll see how it does. I'm definitely interested in seeing how it performs, especially the camera's gimbal. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed watching this video, please feel free to add a like to it, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell on the side. Alright, see you on the next one.